So we talked about how we can use the 𝗪_if function to sum a range of cells based on a condition. And then we took it a step further and used the 𝗪ifs function to sum a range of cells based on multiple conditions. So now let's walk through an example on how to sum a range of cells based on multiple conditions using the DSUM function. First, I'm going to change my region column header back to its original spelling. Then if we select the cell that includes our DSUM function, which is L3, open up the function arguments window by clicking the FX button. And for our arguments, our database can stay the same. Our field, which is the cells column, can stay the same. And the only thing that we have to change is our criteria. So for this example, our goal is to sum the total amount of cells for a region, but within a specific month. So instead of our criteria being K2 to K3, we can change this to include the month and region column label and the condition below the label. And if we click OK, let's do the same month and region as we did for the 𝗪ifs function to see if we get the same total. So for the month, I'm going to type in April, and for the region, I'm going to type in South. And we get the same total of $6,577. So that's one of the advantages that the DSUM function has over the 𝗪ifs function. Because to go from one condition to multiple conditions, we didn't have to change functions using the DSUM. Previously, if we only had one condition, we had to use the 𝗪if function, but if we had multiple conditions, we had to use the 𝗪ifs function. So here we didn't have to change the actual function. Another advantage that the DSUM function has is that we can apply even more conditions to achieve a total that we're looking for. For example, let's say that we want to find the total cells for the South region in the month of April, and then we can also add maybe the month of October in the North region. And all we have to do is go back to our function and change our criteria range to include our column labels and all of our conditions. And if we click OK, now our DSUM function is summing up the totals for the South region in the month of April and the North region in the month of October. To really see the advantage of the DSUM function over the 𝗪ifs function, let's try to achieve this same total with the 𝗪ifs function. So let's match the DSUM setup for our 𝗪ifs setup. So I'm going to put October here and North here. Alright, and then we can go to our 𝗪ifs function, open up our function arguments window, and then by looking at these arguments, how are we going to tell Excel how to sum the total cells for the South region in the month of April and the North region in the month of October? You may be thinking we can add another criteria range and then give it a criteria. For example, if I scroll down here, and for criteria range 3, we can select our region column. And for its criteria, we can select North. And then for criteria range 4, we can select the month column. And for its criteria, we can select October. And you can see that our result is 0. So this is not going to work, because what this function is looking for now is a single record or row in our database that has a region of South and North and a month of April and October. And not one record or row could have both of these months or both of those regions. What would work if you had multiple criteria ranges in 𝗪ifs, we want to sum the total cells of the South region in the month of April for the employee last name of Brown. That's how the 𝗪ifs function works. but it's still possible to get the same total as the DSUM function using the 𝗪ifs function. Let me show you. I'm going to cancel out of this. And what we could do is combine multiple 𝗪ifs. So up here in our formula bar, we can type in the plus sign and then type 𝗪ifs, open parentheses. Now it's asking for our sum range, which are the values that we want to actually sum, which is the cells column. Then comma for the next argument. And the criteria range, the cells that we want evaluated, is the region. And then for the criteria for that region would be the north. And then for the criteria range 2 is the month column, comma, and the criteria for that month column is October. Then we can close the parentheses and click enter. And if you look at our totals between the two functions, they are an exact match. But hopefully you realize that depending on what your needs are, can determine which function you need to use. For this case, it was a lot less complicated and more efficient to use the DSUM function instead of adding two 𝗪if functions together. And just by looking at this formula, we can tell that it took a lot more time to write this formula and to figure out how we could calculate the total that we were looking for. So keep in mind, when you are working inside of Excel, there's always going to be multiple ways to achieve the value that you are looking for. Now, some ways are more efficient than others, but it's very important to know how to use Excel efficiently because you can save a lot of time and increase your workflow.